Hey, what's going on, guys? The Horror Man back with the next review of the Terror in the Isles challenge. This time, Jason and I watched Psycho. We all go a little mad sometimes. Psycho is a 1960 horror film, directed by the master of suspense, Alfred Hitchcock. It's objectively one of, if not the greatest horror film ever made. For that reason, it would have been shocking if Psycho was not featured in Terror in the Isles. But sure enough, it is. Janet Leigh stars as Marion Crane. Marion lives in Phoenix, where she has been working as an office clerk for a real estate agent for the last 10 years. During her lunch breaks and any other free time, she sneaks off for secret rendezvous with her lover, Sam Loomis. Although they wish to be married, they are unable to due to their financial situation. Sam is a hardware store clerk in California, and he's deep in debt due to alimony payments he must make to his ex-wife. This is why Marion decides to steal $40,000 given to her by her boss to deposit into the bank for a client. She pockets the cash and heads to California to meet up with Sam. On the way, she is questioned by a police officer when she is found sleeping in her car on the side of the road. She had pulled over the night before in fear of falling asleep while driving. The police officer seems very wary of Marion Crane. So much so that he follows her to a used car lot where she turns in her car for another. She's trying to leave anything they could trace back to her behind. These scenes with the police officer are extremely intense. You can feel the anxiety that Marion feels. But then again, Alfred Hitchcock was known as the master of suspense for a reason, after all. Marion continues her journey across state lines when it starts to storm. She has no choice but to stay the night in a motel. The Bates Motel, an establishment run by Norman Bates. I've spoken highly about Norman Bates many times on my channel. I consider him to be the most likable slasher villain of all time. That is mostly due to the performance by Anthony Perkins. He was absolutely brilliant. If ever an actor deserved an Oscar for a best performance in a horror film, it was Anthony Perkins. As a matter of fact, Psycho would have been a big contender for Best Picture had it been nominated. Hitchcock was nominated for Best Director for the film, and Janet Leigh was nominated for Best Actress in a Supporting Role. That's because, as I'm sure you know, Marion Crane doesn't even live past the hour mark in Psycho. I'm sure you've all seen the movie, but if you haven't, I'm sure you've at least seen the infamous shower scene. It's probably the most famous kill scene in a horror film of all time. Maybe the most famous horror movie scene overall. After Marion is slashed to death in the shower, the rest of the movie focuses on Sam Loomis and Marion's sister, Lila Crane. Lila was played by Vera Miles. Sam and Lila, along with a private investigator, Detective Arbogast, who was hired to track down the $40,000, are all on the hunt for Marion Crane. But the hunters soon become the hunted when they too enter Bates Motel. I don't think I have to go into any more specifics because, again, I'm sure you've all seen Psycho. Norman Bates has mother issues. It's as simple as that. Other than the incredible suspense Hitchcock himself builds in the film, it's Anthony Perkins that absolutely steals the show. Talk about an iconic performance. You want to like Norman. You root for Norman. You don't want him to get caught. This is even after you witness him murder characters in the film that are supposed to be the good guys. I mean, yes, Marion was a thief, but she didn't deserve to die that way. There's another character that dies at the hands of Norman, which I won't spoil just in case, that always came across as sort of a jerk to me. But when you really watch the movie, you realize he actually is one of the good guys. The thing is, though, you just like Norman so much that everyone who goes against him is the enemy. There's the scene when Norman pushes Marion Crane's car into the swamp. As it's sinking, it sort of stops for a few moments. There's a wave of panic that comes across Norman and across you as the viewer. Then the car finishes sinking, and Norman is relieved, and so are you. Hitchcock even builds suspense in that way, as you're rooting for the killer. Do I even need to mention the shower scene again? Probably not, but I will anyway. The way it's shot is just an absolute masterwork. This movie is a masterpiece. Oh, and how can I forget to mention the score? The score is incredible. By the way, I haven't mentioned this yet, but Jason and I had decided at the start of this challenge to watch the original cuts of all the films. That means the available cuts of the films when Terror in the Aisles was released and the films were featured in it. For Psycho, though, we were sort of torn. Did we watch the original theatrical cut that finally got a Blu-ray release recently? Or did we watch the version that has been available for years? Technically, both cuts of the film would have worked for that rule we made. Ultimately, we decided to go with the uncut version, the theatrical cut of Psycho. That version, along with the most commonly available cut, are both included on this 60th anniversary limited edition steelbook. It's an FYE exclusive. But I do enjoy showing the VHS releases of the movies, so here's the tape. In addition, and I should have mentioned this in the introduction video for this challenge, just like with the Fangoria challenge, Jason and I will be ranking all of these films at the end. Once we've watched and reviewed all of the movies in the Terror in the Aisles challenge, we'll rank them. I can tell you right now, Psycho will be tough to beat. It's my current number one, and I'd be surprised if anything outranks it by the end. Like I said, I not only consider it to be one of, if not the greatest horror film ever made, but one of the greatest films ever made overall. And I consider Psycho 2 to be one of the greatest horror sequels ever made. Psycho 2 was the 1983 follow-up to the original Psycho, 23 years later. I don't think this movie gets enough credit, which is why it's my relatable recommendation. Psycho 2 was written by Tom Holland and features the return of Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. It also features the return of Vera Miles as Lila. If you haven't seen Psycho 2 and you're a fan of the original, do yourself a favor and wait no longer. What do you think of Alfred Hitchcock's classic? Comment below and let me know. And please be sure to check out Jason's review. Don't go a little mad and don't get a little mad, because another review for the Terror in the Aisles challenge is coming soon. Until then, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that thumbs up and be kind. Subscribe.